All right, this is Dr. T. Welcome again to week 2 of English 122 at Ashford University. This week, as usual, we have 2 discussions, a quiz, and a writing assignment that you'll need to do. On this first discussion, you'll be reviewing classic and Rogerian arguments. There's a document that you'll use for this, and you're going to discuss how to put your tentative essay that you're going to write for this course into either Aristotle's classical form of argument or the Rogerian argument style. Now, your initial post has to justify the placement of your material and describe the material's intended effect on the audience. Your initial post has to be at least 200 words in length as usual, and any responses to your classmates, you have to respond to at least 2 classmates, has to be at least 125 words. All right, so let's look at this classic and Rogerian arguments document and see what that looks like. All right, so you'll click on the link and you'll see the classic and Rogerian arguments. The classic is also known as the Aristotelian argument. Okay, this is just a way to set up your paper. And so if you scroll down, you'll notice that in section 1 of your paper, you would have an introduction and a thesis statement. In section 2, you're going to present the position that you most agree with. So let's say if you're writing about abortion, do you agree that abortion should be legal or should abortion be illegal? In this section, you'd present the position that you most agree with. Then in section 3, you'll present the position that you most disagree with. So let's say that you don't think abortion, then you would present that position in this section. In section 4, you're going to provide a rebuttal of the opposition stance. So if you think abortion should be legal, in this section you're going to argue against what the opposite side might argue. So here in section 4, you're providing a rebuttal of the opposition's stance. So if you think A, then your opponent thinks B, you're going to argue against your opponent. Now keep in mind that when you argue in academic writing, you have to write in a non-offensive way. You have to use non-offensive language and style. Now this isn't the Jerry Springer show. Writing in college doesn't involve yelling and screaming. Writing in college and argumentation in civilized society involves pointing out loopholes, pointing out fallacies or lack of logic in the other party's argument. But when you do this, you have to do it in a polite way. One of the reasons why we do these sort of writing exercises is so you can learn how to write in a polite way. Say your boss at work has one view about how things should work and you have another view. You can't say, well, dear boss, I think you're an idiot. You have to be careful. You've got to point out mistakes in people's logic in a very polite way. And so you need to practice on that exercise. Then finally, in the 5th section, you'd provide a conclusion, provide a sound but brief explanation of your argument, and further food for thought for your reader. So this is known as the classic style of argument. Introduction, you talk about the point of view that you agree with, then you talk about the point of view that you disagree with, and then in the 4th section, then next, you provide a rebuttal of the opposition. That's the classic style. Now the consensual or Rogerian argument is based on identifying sort of common ground for all parties. Once again, the first section of this sort of paper provides an introduction and a thesis, and in the thesis statement you provide a sort of compromise. So let's say, for example, here's the compromise. Though video games often have positive educational value, children should not be allowed to play video games until they're 13 years old. So in the first half of the statement, you're acknowledging the opponent's position. That's the compromise. But then in the second half of the thesis, you're providing the position that you back. Now, the Rogerian argument is the one I actually prefer because, first of all, I like to present my opponent's opinion. This is like the batting last in a baseball game idea. In the baseball game, the home team gets to come up last and bat. In the Rogerian argument, the writer comes up last to bat, so to speak. I always want to make my argument last and let my opponent go first in these sorts of argumentation. All right, so in section 2, that's where you present the perspective that you don't agree with. Then in section 3, you present the perspective that you do agree with. You present the most valid perspective, which obviously is the one that you agree with. And then in section 4, you come up with a solution. And so here, you don't want to say, well, dear opponent, I think you're an idiot and I think you're wrong, but you want to once again use very polite language and use logic and reasoning to show why the opposing perspective is not correct. And at the same time, you want to explain why your perspective is the more appropriate one. Once again, you always have to be polite. This is not yelling and screaming. This is not name calling. You're advancing an argument and you're doing it in a polite, considered, and logical way. And then finally, once again, you come to a conclusion. So this first discussion post that you're dealing with in this particular assignment is you're going to try to figure out how your essay will fit into either the classical form of argumentation or the Rogerian argumentation style. And once again, my own personal preference is for a Rogerian argument because in that sort of argument, you present the opponent's point of view first, then follow that with your point of view, and you get to chip away at your opponent's argument as you go. So that's discussion 1. Discussion 2, you are going to create a topic sentence and a body paragraph that's going to support the thesis statement that you'll use in your research paper. Your paragraph has to include paraphrased information and a direct quote. So paraphrased information is where you take one of your sources and you put the information from one of your sources into your own words. So paraphrasing, you're putting things in your own words. A direct quote, obviously, you're going to take the exact words from one of your sources and then put that into this body paragraph that will ultimately become part of your final research paper. Now, whenever you cite information that comes from somebody else's brain, you have to incorporate that into your writing with a proper APA in-text citation. In-text citations usually have 2 pieces of information: the author's last name and the year of publication. That's in the case of a paraphrased. And then if you use a direct quote, you have to provide the author's last name, comma, the year of publication, comma, and then the page number, P period 117, or whatever page. Also, at the end of this paragraph, you're going to create a little references list for the sources noted in the body of your paragraph. You're using at least 2 pieces of information, so your references list should have 2 entries. Also, at the end of your paragraph, you need to provide the original text that you're paraphrasing. We want to see that you're transforming one person's word into your own words. This is a crucial part of the research writing process, because nowadays, with information so readily available on the web, there's a great temptation for students to just copy and paste things directly from the web into a Word document. That is not permitted. That's plagiarism, which is a fancy word for cheating. You can't steal information from one person's head and then try to pass it off as your own by copying it from the internet and then pasting it into a Word document. That's not permitted. That's against the rules of Ashford University or any university, and you just can't do that. You need to take other people's words, turn them into your own words, and then provide an in-text citation, and also you have to provide a full bibliographical reference in a reference. As always, your initial post has to be at least 200 words, and any post to your classmates have to be at least 125 words. All right, so you've got a lot of work to do this week. Next, there is a written assignment. Now, on this, you're going to be creating an outline, but this is sort of a detailed outline, and it's going to have your thesis statement, the topic sentences that you're going to use for your paper, and also supporting information for each topic. And there are outline forms that you'll need to look at that show you exactly how to do this. And also you can check out this research paper guideline if you have any questions about the topics that you can choose from. You need to pick one topic from this research paper guidelines document. Let's look at this outline form and see what it is that this formal outline is going to look like. Let's see what this formal outline. So we go to that document and we come to the outline. All right, so here's an example of what the outline will look like. All right, so you're going to have a thesis statement. You're going to write this out. You're going to have the thesis statement itself here in this part of the paper. Then you're going to provide the topic sentence for your first paragraph. Then you're going to provide supporting evidence. So you'll put a piece of information that you found in your research here in this line. Then you're going to put another piece of information from your research in this line. And then you're going to explain what this evidence indicates. You're going to explain this first piece of information, A1, and then you're going to explain piece of information A2. And then ultimately you're going to say, so what? Well, what does this evidence tell us? All right, let's pretend that you're a lawyer trying a case. All right, your topic sentence number 1 is that John Doe had motive to attack my client. And so you're going to give a piece of evidence. Why is it that you think that he had motive to attack your client? And then you're going to give another piece of evidence. Why do you think that John Doe had reason to attack your client? And then you're going to explain to the jury, well, here's what piece of evidence number 1 indicates. And then you'll explain to the jury, here's what piece of evidence number 2 indicates. And then the so what is, well, the conclusion is that John Doe had motive to attack your client. And so then you'll repeat that process. This is like shampooing. Rinse, lather, repeat. Have a topic sentence. Okay, topic sentence 2. John Doe had opportunity to attack my client. And then supply supporting evidence. Here's piece of evidence number 1, that John Doe had opportunity to attack my client. Here's piece of evidence number 2, that John Doe had opportunity to attack my client. And then you explain the evidence. And then you say, well, so what? Well, the evidence shows that John Doe had opportunity to attack my client. And so you repeat this process in this outline. Ultimately, you will provide a concluding part to this outline. You're going to rephrase the thesis statement. All right, so you'll put your thesis statement here, but you're going to put it in different words. So you're going to change the wording around some. And then finally, in this last part, 5B, you're going to close out the essay by going from specific to broad. So not only does my argument show that John Doe should be convicted of attacking my client, but everyone who commits such a horrible act should be put away in jail for 50 years. So you're creating formal outline for your research paper. Ultimately, you should be able to take this outline and pull out all of these sort of formal words like introduction, thesis statement, and so on, and take all of this out, and then you can just put together the various little building blocks of your essay. So this is a formal way for you to think through your ideas. So follow this example. This example from Ashford shows you exactly what it is that your outline should look like when you turn it in. So follow this outline to the letter. Just follow the example. Do exactly the same thing that the outline is doing. All this outline is just a formal way for you to work through the argumentation of your paper. So just follow the example and everything should turn out well. But you've got plenty of examples here, so make sure that you follow them. Yeah, the whole thing, this entire outline should end up being about 400 to 500 words, which is about 2 pages or so. So you can see from the sample that their entire outline is about 2 pages. And I would just follow this outline as closely as you possibly can. This provides a great example of how this assignment. So I hope this helps, and good luck with the week 2 assignments. You definitely have a lot to do. I don't envy you, but please let me know if I can help you in any way. Best of luck.